Oh, hey back there. I mean, it's still the same video, but it's now 10 hours later. 10 hours of experience with this new kind of networking, and I want just to share with you important things that I found out, because there are way too few tutorials that address all the stuff. What I did, for example, is a key, and you can collect that key. Anyone can collect that key, and it will be gone for everyone. And then there is a closed door, and it can be used when the key is collected. And it will change to a door that can be used to open, close, different states. And I found out a few things about the whole networking things, stuff that is very important. So if you, for example, have something simple like this flower coming rolling down the stairs to threaten people, it is an event that is not so important. It will just cast one animation and then it's gone. So let's take a look into the code. So on any player trigger enter, get is local. Yeah, okay, that is of course the flower. It will just cause damage. But you have also an angry fire. And this is one very important thing. You see that there is a cube as a trigger zone, and that cube, you can easily see it if you turn on the mesh renderer. You know, sometimes it is difficult to see where the where it takes space. I mean, you can see it with these lines. They get a bit more pale when they are behind something, and brighter if they are in front. But just keep it as a cube, and you can always toggle it as a mesh renderer. That is way easier. And it is also a good thing if you network now in a good way, to keep this code on an object that will not be under some changes. For example, I need to redo the code for the coin because you can't deactivate and reactivate the coin. The coin would be gone, but if another person joins, the coin would be there for the person and it would instantly not work correctly anymore. So you can do it like that if you don't activate or deactivate the coin. Here I already made it like get the component of the coin, the mesh renderer, and turn it off. And then also the box collider type. Yeah, okay, I already did it like that because the networking will not work correctly if the whole object here is set to deactivate. That will also kind of reset the script. And that can cause problems, and stuff will not work in a networking manner. It will kind of crash the networking. So what you can do is decide between two things. If you want to put the code on the object that will be toggled, then you toggle not the whole object, but the mesh renderer to make it invisible and the box collider so no one can use it anymore. It is 2 steps instead of 1. So it's not that bad, but you have to know it. And it can be difficult if an object contains many meshes. Then you have to deactivate and reactivate every of those meshes. But if you deactivate the whole object as a reaction to the event, then you kind of reset the networking and it breaks. It wouldn't work like that. So that is the first big rule that I found out that you definitely have to keep in mind, and that also I haven't heard of that for quite some time. People that are deep into the networking are telling like, yeah, that's just common knowledge. Might be for people who are doing that for years, but I tell you that from the beginning, it is definitely a thing that made me 5 hours working on that door. Because I couldn't find an issue, and I reworked and reworked and reworked and redid the code until I found it out. And I told, I asked people, and yeah. So don't use hours on a door. And another thing, In the official VRChat documentation, I read examples that sets the state and then sets the owner and then requests the serialization. That word will kill me. But for it to work properly, I found out the second big thing. First comes the ownership, then you set the variable, then you request the serialization. That is the big three: ownership, variable, serialization. And then it works. You don't need to send the change, because if you send the change, you need to be the owner then. Then you can do something like, if you have the bool here and you say Alt, left click, drag, then you have this possibility, door unlocked change. So after this change, you can instantly do something with it, because the variable changed. And it also contains the new changed value. If you need that somewhere, but I found out that the best practice to do is you have the action that happen in your world. Maybe you check something like, oh, the door can just work if the key is not longer active, yeah. I would change that, because we just learned that networking is not working like that. So I go here into the prefab to make it reusable. We go here in the code, and then we look for the key gain is the correct. So on player trigger enter, you become the owner. On interact, you also become the owner. So you can run over it, you can click on it however you want, and then you set the is grabbed is true. And then you request the serialization, of course. And then you get the event stuff here. We come to that shortly. You play the sound, and here you deactivate the key. And that we don't want anymore, because there is code on the key. And that we don't need the key anymore, but we need the code. So we better get a component and set it to type, because then we can search for type mesh box collider, type box collider. And also we search for a type that is called mesh renderer. And then we duplicate that, and we also, we do kind of the same here. So the collider and the mesh of the key we get. And then we need, so this is no. And so there is the get component box collider, get component mesh renderer. So we search for box collider and enabled, so set enabled, and say nope, not longer enabled. You can you can't just like drag and drop and search for something like enable, because it is component here and not specifically the component that we search for. So we need to search for the mesh renderer first, and then we say enable, set enable, there it is, and then we also disable the, and that is now how the key would not break for the late joiners. Yeah, I would say we just go out of here now. We didn't change something on the objects, that's just on the code, so the program didn't ask for saving. But let's get back to the door, like what I said. So you have the action, you maybe check something, oh wait, look, the key would be still activated. So we need to get here, we get component, and we can say for type mesh renderer, because the only way the mesh could be turned off would be someone already run over it, gained the key, however. So we not set, we get, is it enabled? And just if that is false, it is working. Otherwise the door says, So, to get back into the workflow here, you have the action. You have maybe something you want to check before. And if you go for the networking, then the networking is ownership, variable, serialization, and then the action. Finally, the reaction of your code. And that here is you send an event. The event that is, it is more tidy like that. It's the event that you want to achieve. And the on deserialization that goes in here is if you were not the acting being, if you were not the acting person, then you would be not the owner, not change the value, and not requested the serialization, but you got the deserialization in that moment. And so you're at the same point here, and you also go into the event as a networking remote person. And then you get into the event and you can do all the fancy shit. And because I had all the code on my stuff, I needed to play one shot and then box collider, mesh renderer, box collider, mesh renderer, mesh renderer. You should do something in future. I will do something like put the code on invisible trigger zones. It is so easy to use the mesh as the boundary box, you know, as the starting point of your box collider, because it will be centered around the geometry's origin already. That is so much easier. But let me say, it is also easy to just put in a simple 3D cube, and then you can even easier set up the zone and you get what you want. So keep in mind ownership first. Sadly, in the documentation I read, it was otherwise. And also keep in mind, never uncheck a game object with code on it. It would be resetted. And weird things can happen. So that is definitely dangerous. So I hope this is helpful for you. And I will check my code if everything is working. Here, for example, I also have something that button opens this gate. But what if I at some point have another button with a bigger gate? That's totally... I mean, what it does is every single brick is set active to false. It plays a sound and it waits for the next brick, for the next brick, for the next brick. And then it does something in the end. Pooh! If I have 8 of those, I would need to copy 2 of those codes down and do the same. And if I just change something, I would need to change it 8 times. That is usually something that is a big no-no. So I set up a for loop. For 0 to the end of the length of kind of a list of things that is called bricks down here. And I said it is 6 long. In steps of 1, in those iterations, you do what is in the body. And you get always the index counter out of the list. And then you do something. And right now you set a game object to nope. And the game object is already taken from the list. So that can definitely save something. But we also want to play a one-shot. Zip. Zip. Copy. So we also play a one-shot. And now it's tricky. Tricky. Because we need to wait. But the for loop will automatically fire everything in one frame. And your computer, doesn't matter how slow, it will be way quicker than nearly a second for a single operation. So we also copy this here, the delayed thing, and we better instantly delay something. We need to instantly delay. I'm just trying to clean up my old code here. So the delay is this second thingy here. So the event that will be fired is the deactivation. that deactivates and also sends the, you know, the sound. And how can we achieve that? Or let's think. A multiplication. This is a float, I guess. So float, multiplicate. Sorry. Let's take the index to float. Convert to float. So the index that begins with 0 will be converted into a float, and 0 times nearly a second will be 0. So the first event will fire immediately. And then it goes up. 1 times 0.75 seconds. 2 times 7.5 seconds. It is working like that, yeah? And now we just need to say... deactivation. Is it? How long do you need to know that I made a new event there? Maybe I just create a new event? I love my Unity. I bet. I mean, there's a custom event that should work. Let's see. I mean, the idea was not bad, wasn't it? So I keep all the other code until it works. So that is the end event. You know, in the end, the box collider of the button will be deactivated, so you can't do it anymore. Because it's done. The door is open. So that means that this would be the exit thing. It is not working in a networked way so far. But the first thing I want to achieve here is a cleanup. And to make it modular. So that at any point you could just say like, I add more things to deactivate and get the same result. So, but why is the event here not working? Custom event, deactivation. Deactivator. I don't know. Compile. What stops you? So, what does the console say? Fail to refresh the program button wall. Due to exception, system collection generic key not found. Exception, the given key was not presented. System collection, what, get item, blah blah blah. Clear. Button wall. Fail to refresh program. Button wall to the exception. What do you have here? Is here something not correct? We have... Did I do something horribly wrong here? Button self box collider type. Box collider set enable false in the end. We say int to float. That should work. Send custom event delayed seconds. Get the length of the bricks. That would be 6 for now. And then get the game object of the index number to then just do the magic here. Everything in here is even set up, so there are all things in. compile. So the program is not happy with us. If I X all that out, then it's working again. So something on that new code the program is super unhappy with. But what? Key not found. The given key. Index. What is this long name? Index -1 true. Is not present in the dictionary. A dictionary. What do you mean? I'm just using things that are built within the engine here. The program is fighting because the program doesn't want to be performant. The program is like, nah, I want to have this shittle noodle code. Stop being performant. I don't wanna. My name is Unity. I'm not built for fancy games and stuff. I'm built for clumsy and untidy beginner work. And if you're trying to enhance yourself, then I will stop you. I bet it is exactly like that. Yeah, I will check stuff and I will get back to you when I've found it. So I found out what to do. I killed this line. As soon as I connect this, it's dead. If I keep that away, it's working again. So I can't use the index to get. But I would kinda need that to do that. Because, so it is firing an event. And within that event, I have to deactivate something. And I need to know what. And I would to do it with so fancy ass shit is not possible like that, it seems. The problem is I can't delay the system. I can just say continue in with kind of a new event in seconds. But the problem, if it is not allowing me to also use that index number in the upcoming event, if the program is not able to store that value, then I can forget about that. So we will never have a fancy shit here program thingy, because yeah. So the idea was neat, but yeah. I can't do that here because if six times the same event is fired, how should the event know where it is and which brick to kill? Maybe I could build an own counter in here. I really don't know if I want to, because you know. If it's a big if, and the case gets more complicated, then at some point a janky solution is the easiest, because if I do that here in 2 minutes, and this here fucks me already for 10 minutes, then you just keep it shitty, but it works. Sometimes the solution is to keep it shitty, because you don't have all time of the world. I could say something like, let's create an int. I mean, I can try around a bit. Yeah, we have time. And we say, there is a brick counter. And should it be synced? Nah. And the big brick counter is set. Is set to this here. Before anything happens, you set your internal brick counter to the length of the whole thing. So And now we get a value of the brick counter. That should be the highest number now, yeah? So you begin from the highest. That would be number 5 now. Yeah, it is like, it is as it is. And then you could say, dang. After you did that, you subtract from that counter 1. So that would kind of not need the int up here. So in the beginning you create an own int and check it for the length of the bricks there. And what you get is always the number of your counter that after the action subtract 1. And set it to a new value for the next operation. Is that working? Yeah, it is not reading at us. So I brought over the event here, and the other event, no, that is the exactly. And in the end, it does the same as here. That is not casted if that is not casted, and that is not casted if press 1 is not casted. Yep. Okie dokie. So we could go for this here. Copy. Bzzzt. Even longer tail. This is the thing that would be done for the first. Just for the button itself. SFX it is, but I don't want too much noodles up till here, so we make a new one. So now we can try it, So let's go for the header and the locations, and my current test location was back there. And now the current test location needs to be here. Open for testing. Yeah. You always will find a solution to go around those dilemmas. Of course. Of course, it was to... Now, come on, move! So... Better putting an object on here, because those gizmo objects, you never really see where it is. So, let's see if it works. No, of course. An exception, so it's halted. Of course not, because we need to know that we keep it shitty and not tidy. Yeah? Better keep it shitty, not tidy. So press me will cause the first stuff works, and then you set to get length of bricks. So bricks, get length, set the brick counter, and go in the for loop from 0 to the length of the brick counter in 1 step. So didn't even work. Okay. Delayed seconds, deactivator. Maybe because we say 0 multiplicated with that. Because, I don't know, maybe counting math with 0 is a thing that might be something like, I have no imagination, I'm Unity. So we might just Yeah, an addition. We might just add... Of course, I need to delete that first, because I'm Unity. So, we just add... one second or so. So we start with not 0. The multiplication should work, maybe. I don't know. And then we get brick counter, get the object, the current, and then we subtract, of course. And maybe that could work. I don't know. La 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 la. This is so fun. No, it is not. It is fun when it's done. And can you tell me what happened? Index was outside the bounds of the array. What? Index? Yeah. I mean, we added one. And then multiplied and I don't change the index. I use the index to count. And I mean, we say that we get the length here. What is 5? Let's say from 0 to 5, 6 steps and 1 steps, yeah? And then we do something here. What do you want to tell me? An extend to Unity Engine Game Object Array get System in 32 Unity Engine Game Object parameter addresses blah 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 outside the bounds of the array. You better don't give a shit about any array thing. So that means the problem was that we use we get the length. We get the length of the array. That should be 5. And then we get the 5th object, because nothing happens. The first object, does it mean that we need maybe to... Let's try to subtract before. That the subtraction is the first thing, and then we do this, the magic. Let's see if that fixed the boundary problem. It always is weird that the list number 1 is 0. That is always something like, yeah, game devs are very funny people. It does exactly what it was supposed to do. So, it is working now. I would be more happy if it would not have bugged me like that. So we can kill this, because this is happening at exit now. And we can delete all that, because it's just doing that stuff. And we can also delete that, because we already implemented that. So press me is now here. So we tidied up the code and we made it modular now. And now we need to make it networking to know, hey, the button is pressed. So we have here a public synced bool button. Interact, and we set the owner of the button that will be the presser. Very depressive. So then we set the bool, we request the serialization, and we send the event after deserialization, and that will be the event that does the thing. What will I say except you're welcome? There is nothing left to do. But always know, what we learned today are 2 very important things. That these 3... I would say that this whole thing, you better print it out, and also print out a picture of my face, and you put it besides it, because I gave, I'm Prometheus. I gave you the knowledge. I gave you the fire to rule the world, or something similar. And this is the whole network magic. This is everything. Everything you will always do. Yeah? Just making a simple variable of any kind. Mostly a bool because on-off things, public and synced. And doesn't even need to be public. It needs to be synced. You don't need access to that. Not really. You shouldn't. Yeah. Action, ownership, network, serialization, reaction, kinder. And don't deactivate game objects with code on it. I will do it in future like that. In the past, I have done it too often, too weird, with all the asking, are you the owner? Is it active? Are you really the owner? Should I do blah, 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 with every join, so many questions from so many scripts happening. I won't do that anymore in future, but I will. From now on, so I won't go back to change old projects, because that would be complete rework, and I'm not paid for that, and I'm not having fun doing that. But now we have a simpler way that, if we know the rules, indeed is easier and tidier. So I hope you use the fire that Kitsu Prometheus was giving to you. Hehe.